Dimp Digital Presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast where we give our impressions of the games that you can play today and react to the latest news from the wonderful world of video games. We are here every Monday on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. This week, I'm joined by the former Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz champion. It's Pacman himself. It's Tom Adcock. How's it going?
It's going well, mate. I'm back.
Good.
I've had sort of segments of the fan base reaching out to me personally, just saying, there's been a falling out. Like, why haven't you been on there?
Well, it's been technical issues, isn't it? This should be the last Gremlin episode we have with you because you're getting super fast internet soon.
Yep, test case, like sort of a bit like the coronavirus, that old man or old woman, with like the sort of test case for Wakering internet, coming into the modern times. So.
Getting a huge fibre upgrade. I don't think it's around here yet because we're at the other end, so I think we've been stitched up. And whoever here before has done something with the internet cabling and fucked it up, so I need to get a specialist around. Any recommendations, let me know. Got to work in the Essex area. Anyway,
I don't think they exist, mate. Just really quick on that. Sarah's parents once got someone round.
Yep.
And so he obviously charged whatever it is, 75 quid call out. His recommendations at the end of it was to put the router in the front room in the middle because that will get a better reception, and add some tin foil to the back of it.
No, I mean that's.
They were like, no, it's mental. They paid him though.
Right, so if you're going to recommend people, don't be not those sort of people. That's not good enough. I could have done that myself. This is big boy shit anyway. I'll make sure I'll screen them when I call them and say, look, here's the problem. You got to know your shit for this. It's annoying because the geezer who used to live next door used to do all that and moved out a year and a half ago.
You need to be getting those relationships cemented early, mate.
His son lives down this road somewhere, like 4 doors up. So I don't know exactly what house. I can't really go knocking saying, right, are you Alan's son? And they'll be like, nope.
Just walk up and down the road going, internet's bad again, isn't it? Kaz.
Well, he claimed he was retired anyway, but you know what the old boys are like. They always say they're retired and they do more work than they ever have. So there's a chance to get him. Anyway, excited for this one because Adcock has played through Demon Souls, and you're probably the most accomplished From Software player we have. So I am interested to get your perspective, and we'll probably have some other chat along the way towards the back end of the podcast. But before we get into all that, I have to let you know that you can support us financially by going to patreon.com/idle game chat. Hands go in pockets, money can come out and go to us. If you can't afford it or you don't want to, don't matter either. Just happy to have you on board, I guess, listening from all corners of the world. Adcock, From Software guru, you've managed to battle your way through Demon Souls. One of the very few PS5 only launch games. A lot of the stuff was on PS4 as well. This is a first party jobby. It's a remake of the 2009 game. So 11 years old, give or take. Firstly, to get the perspective, had you ever touched or dabbled with the original Demon Souls?
No, sir. I remember one friend. I think it was a difficult even to purchase it. I feel like it was kind of like. I feel like you had to import it or something originally, and then it kind of did get a bit of a following here and whatnot. So I always remember one friend, hardcore person, telling me about it, saying, "There's this game, you need to be playing it." I missed it. I then missed the whole series basically up until way later. So no, never played it. To be honest, not. It's interesting. I imagined it to be a lot less like the SoulsBorne series than it kind of turned out to be.
Right.
So I wasn't really even that interested in playing it. I thought it was more just like the blueprints for what came later.
Yes. Interesting. My understanding is that this is a remake in the same sort of vein that Bluepoint did for Shadow of the Colossus, in that they didn't meddle with the gameplay or the structure of the game, so that's all kept intact. It's primarily a visual upgrade and remake, and a performance update as well, given that you've got 60 FPS that's an option in performance mode. And this, like I mentioned earlier, this is one of the few PlayStation 5 only games. You can't get it anywhere else, and that leads us to sort of speculate that it was built specifically for this platform. So from that perspective, does it feel next gen? Like, did you plonk this on and go, "Cool, Gen 9 is here," or was it more like, that looks good, runs well, but what else you got? I wouldn't have noticed.
No, yeah, I think is the short answer. Like, I've got a brand new telly and it's fucking massive, and brand new console with a brand new game that, as you say, is only available on that console. It looks the tits is the truth. I mean, these games they're more like about the atmosphere than actual, like, hard grunt, photorealistic graphics. That's not what they go for.
A lot of them don't look or run that great historically. There's always been a bit of an Achilles heel. That, I assume, is not the case here. No, and as like most other games, considering I guess this one's going to be pushing the console a little bit harder, the load times were fantastic still. Like performance-wise, perfect. I think I did have one hard crash. I think it's just one, full shutdown jobby, but didn't lose any like progress or anything, so no bother. So no, all good. And did you even try like the cinematic mode, or was you just from day dot put performance mode on, or did you switch between the two and then decide, right, I need these frames rather than this extra bit of resolution?
Yeah, no, I switched. I tested both out. Like, first thing I did, and then to be honest, I'm not. My old eyes are struggling really to even see the difference, if I'm honest. So I went straight with 1080 performance 60, so that
it's a no-brainer, isn't it, really? Like, I'm much the same. Like, I'm sure if you put them side by side and zoomed in and went, here's the different texture, I go, I can see that. But whilst you're playing the game, it looks good enough in performance mode, and you've got the double of the frame rate. So
exactly,
for a game like this where you kind of need everything to be going your way sometimes, those extra frames could end up being crucial during your adventure. You touched on the load times, because one of the frustrations I had with Bloodborne was the load times, because not only did Bloodstaff Beast just kill me for the 18th time in a row, I'm then presented with this loading screen for, it felt like, minutes on end. How are we doing with Demon Souls? You mentioned they were better. I imagine it's not instant, but much more manageable than what you'd previously experienced.
It's lightning. The only thing is, I've not played this game because it's a bit of a weird one in that obviously I'd rather shorter loading times, as you say, in like the other games. Is you get killed and you're sitting there staring at like swords and bits of lore coming up for the next like 2 minutes. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But this is lightning fast. Like, you're back in and running around within, I'd say under 10 seconds. Like, it's quick. But then you do, like, in a game like this where a lot of the story is told through the objects you can find and things.
Yes.
The one thing I'll say is I don't know if Demon Souls did this, so I've got nothing to go back on at the moment, but I'd assume it did. And there's no like character loading screens at all. There's no like lore. It's literally you died, a bit of smog, and you're back running around, all in, like I said, probably 10 seconds tops.
Yeah. And I'll take it you prefer that trade-off over the course of a game like this?
I do, in a way. I wouldn't mind, or an option just to fade out of it, perhaps, would be the icing.
Yeah, so it presents you a screen, you can press X and then go to it. And
exactly.
You can read what's coming up.
But given the hard choice, there's, again, because obviously it is frustrating, but it does sort of slightly lessen the sting, knowing that you can just be back on and playing. When I think of other games but they're usually like the 2D ones I play, like Cuphead and Celeste and things. That's one of those you die and you're instantly back in the game playing again. So it does give you that, all right, one more shot. And I found myself doing that over and over, just thinking, right, I'm doing one more run here, then I'll go to bed. Yeah. Obviously, it turned into about 12 more runs.
Wow. Yeah, we can get more runs in now because you're not sitting there staring at load screens, which is handy. And just so people at home get a perspective on your, I guess, the gameplay experience that you've had for the previous Souls, am I right in saying you've done, is it all 3 Dark Souls or just 1 and 3?
So 1 and 3 Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and now this. So I'm missing Dark Souls 2 and Sekiro, or whatever it's called.
Yeah. And because just looking at this, it feels like Demon Souls is more akin to Dark Souls in terms of the setting, for one. Like, you can just look at it and say that's not Bloodborne. And also perhaps the combat and what I mean by that is that you've got a hefty shield, or you can choose to have a hefty shield. It's an option to kind of block, whereas Bloodborne was a dodge game. It's keep out of the way. If you get hit, try and get it back from being aggressive. Is that a correct assessment, or have I muddled it?
No, spot on. Like I said, it surprised me how much.
Get that spot on. Yeah.
It surprised me how much it was Dark Souls. I was expecting, like hints here and there, and maybe aesthetically it looked the same, but it's all there really. The only thing I would say that takes it away from being like full just Dark Souls 0.5 or whatever is the fact that it's not like one interconnected world. It's the hub, and then you'll go to like different areas of the city or the country or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and you'll do like levels 1, 2, 3, and then you can just go to another part and do 1 to 3. But you're always coming back to that base and then setting out from there. You're not going deeper and deeper into the world as you do in the other games, basically.
No. What's this base allow you to do? Is this where you level up? Is there NPCs there? Can you buy gear there? Is it kind of like the Hunter's? I'm referring to Bloodborne because that's the one I'm familiar with. But is it kind of like the Hunter's Dream, when you die, you'd go back there and do some admin basically to try and get stronger?
It is exactly the same as the Hunter's Dream. So you've even got like the two like ascending staircases that meet in the middle at the top.
Yeah.
With like, I think they were like fountains or something in Bloodborne. Here you've got like old statues that you would just like access the levels. I don't think there was NPCs in the Hunter's Dream though, was there? Or
there was that old fucker in the wheelchair and that doll, from what I remember.
Yeah,
so
that's it. But
you could kill the doll.
Yeah, I read this afterwards. You can do that on this as well. So in here, it's more like Dark Souls, where you've got all of that, what you just said in Bloodborne, plus any NPCs you meet in the game will generally come back to the Nexus, and they'll then be there to upgrade gear, give you spells, look after your items, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Excellent.
But I did read one wrong swing of your sword. If you accidentally press X or R1 instead of X or whatever, you take a swipe at one of them, then that's them sort of
out of the game,
angered and on your case for the rest of the game. They ain't helping you.
Yeah, and the trouble with the Souls games is it seems like it saves immediately after you've done anything. So if you did do it by accident, you can't just. I mean, if you just pulled the plug out quickly, you'd get away with it. But generally, it seems to save almost immediately when something happens, any event. So you get yourself right stitched up. What sort of did you spend much time in the character creation? Because it looked like they had expanded that, and previous Souls games, let's be honest, have been awful for that. I mean, a lot of people don't care about it, but I had a little dabble and run through a few of the player creations that people have done on Demon Souls, and it seems that they've expanded that and gives you loads of options if you want to fanny about in there.
Nah, for 2 minutes, mate. It started off with a little black fella. I just took his hair off, made him nice and pasty and white, and job done. That's it.
Easy as that. And did you choose a class at that point, or?
Yes, I instantly went to sort of cheat mode. Googled what's the best starting class for someone. Mate, because I know you say that I'm the person with the most experience, whatever these games. I'm not good at them. I need all the help I can get. So literally said which is the easiest as a starting class. It gave me 2, and I picked I think it was the Royal class. It had magic, which I got on with quite well on I think Dark Souls 3. So I thought I'll go down that avenue again. I know what I'm doing with that. Yeah. So that's what I did. Did
it seem like the correct decision, or was you get halfway through it and think, I'm not quite sure about this Royal class? I feel a bit.
Yeah, I definitely struggled more. Like, there's a couple of reasons I'll go into, but it didn't start out well for me. Like, I wasn't really too sure. I don't know if I was just out of touch with these games. So I for some reason kept when you beat a boss, you've got choices. You can either consume the souls for like, a big amount of souls. You can then just buy, upgrades and whatever.
Yeah.
You can trade it with a smith for like upgrades to your weapons, or you can trade it for a magician for upgrades to your magic. Cool. For some reason, the first couple of bosses, I just traded them for like the souls, like the bog standard currency,
which you can get from killing anything.
Yeah,
right.
and sort of, I think I put myself in a bit of a disadvantage. And then once I kind of figured things out properly, from that point on, it became like I was much more like on board with the class I picked and things. And once I started to actually lean into it, like it does really help, basically.
Yeah. Can you, if you wasn't getting on with that class, does it give you any flexibility to kind of pivot and change enough weaponry that you can perform differently and perhaps start investing in other stats? Or are you
it's a good
locked
question.
in?
There's definitely 2 other builds you can do. Now, I don't know if they're just cosmetic builds, because like I said, I just done the bog standard white guy, no effort.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they are actually another character that you can do altogether. So there might be a lot of flex, and probably someone will be able to tell us for sure. But definitely cosmetically, potentially a full character. And then if you just want to start investing in other skills, I mean, there is so much flex with that you like in the game anyway. In that there are so many weapons, so many not so many, but a lot of people to interact with that can do different things. So yeah, if you want to like avoid your magic, even if that's your build, you can get some armor somewhere during the game. You can buy a massive shield. You can upgrade your strength so you can carry it all, and all of a sudden you can just be a tank. Well, yeah. You've got to put a work in, but yeah, absolutely, that's possible.
We'll talk about the structure, because I think that's where one of the biggest not departures, because this is the original, but one of the differences between this and perhaps some of the other Souls game. You kind of mentioned about the interconnected worlds, but was there anything else in the gameplay kind of realm where you thought this doesn't feel like a Souls game I played before? Or was it very much familiar once you got your eye in and started to figure out how it all works?
No, it was pretty much all familiar. I think it was that structure was and then as far as I could tell, there weren't any optional bosses. I think when I looked afterwards, I fought every single boss listed, well, bar one that I couldn't even find. So really, whereas the Souls ones probably have an extra like 4 or 5 minimum of like optional bosses, quite a few. So yeah, as far as I could tell, there was none or maybe one. And then much more linear. I don't know if linear is the right word, but more gamey structure to it, basically.
Yeah. So if you can expand on like the structure of how it works, because my experiences with Bloodborne, you set off, and like you mentioned, a good way of putting it, you kind of just end up going deeper and deeper into this big, giant, interconnected map where you unlock shortcuts and whatnot. And then along the way, one of the big things is you get lamps or bonfires to sort of checkpoint your progress, and you can use those to fast travel to and from to get around quicker, and also just to save you having to run through the same areas over and over again, which you do have to do anyway, but it kind of reduces it. What are we looking at here in terms of Demon Souls? It sounds like it's a bit different. They hadn't quite come up with the idea or had the architectural knowledge to do an interconnected world.
Yeah, I think like in hindsight now, looking back, it seems like the Dark Souls formula was the natural progression from what they've got here.
Yeah.
But this probably works better. It's a really nice jumping on point, I would say, because so in this you start in, I guess, World 1-1.
Yeah.
And you beat that, and you can go to World 1-2.
Sounds like Mario.
At that point, yeah. And then at that point, the rest of the map opens up.
Oh.
So if you want to go to World 2-1, you can. If you want to go to a 3-1, 4-1, or 5-1, you can. And then if you unlock one of those, then you can go to, if you unlock 5-1, you can go to 5-2.
Right.
So basically, if you kind of dead end somewhere, or you're banging your head against the brick wall on 3-1, you can go to any of those other worlds and have a crack at, either the first part or the second stage or the third stage if you're there. And then once you kind of, I think that's there's a number of times early on where I was really struggling with a level. I was like, you know what? Clearly I'm underpowered. I'm just going to leave that. Going to go somewhere else, get some items, see what's going on. And so there's always that. It kind of takes away the frustration a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I do kind of bang my head against the brick wall in these games. I'm shit at them, but I'm persistent. And it took me a while to, unlearn that lesson and just be like, look, I've died 4 times. Like, that's enough. Like, go and see what else is going on somewhere else. You're bound to find something that's going to make this easier. And it almost always did.
Interesting. So one of the things that was difficult I found with Bloodborne was navigating and knowing where to go because of the interconnectivity of the world, and sometimes it was just a tiny little alleyway that I'd missed 50 times round on my patrol, not realising I had to do that. Or it'd be, like you mentioned, the optional bosses. I'd go down, end up at a dead end, kill a boss and think, oh, now I don't know where to go because I thought this was the way to progress. Are there any? Did you run into any of those sort of situations, or because of the simplified nature of World 1.1, 2.1, all that good stuff, is there kind of less chance of that happening and getting lost and getting tangled up and not knowing where to go?
Yeah, no, there's a couple of like just odd, like, you know, level designs where, you know, you might not see a tiny alley that's to your right at the end of the stage.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, yeah, that's gone as well. It's way more linear. It's just A to B. On some of the bigger stages, you might unlock a shortcut, which, you know, I guess could potentially confuse you a bit, but not really. Most of the games are kind of just one and done, or the shortcut is so obscure that I just didn't find them anyway. And yeah, so it's just A to B, you know, that's it. So yeah, that again, for like someone coming in fresh, that's probably another really good selling point.
Yeah, and do the stages have any form of bonfires or lamps or checkpoint, or is it you have to do stage 1 in one go, kill the boss, or you're back to square one every time?
So like I said, there's shortcuts,
yep,
but not, so you might undo a gate or, you know, pull a lever and that gets a lift going.
Yep.
But it's by no means guaranteed. So often, the thing is, it's like learning the rhythm of these games, isn't it? Because really, you only need to go round the stage once to collect all your loot and get the biggest number of souls. You can then generally, there is normally a shortcut, like a shorter route to the boss, basically.
Yeah.
And you can basically run past everyone at that point anyway. Once you're kind of leveled up and you've got everything you need, it then becomes just a proper video game. You just learn everyone's tactics, who you need to fight, who you need to avoid, and the quickest, safest way to the boss. And yeah, like I said, sometimes there will be a legit shortcut that takes you straight to the boss.
Interesting. Yeah. And you have to, I take it you have to kill the boss on each stage to unlock the next tier within that world.
Exactly, yeah, you do. Yeah, so the end of each stage is a boss. Funnily enough, this is what I'd say about the game, is it's kind of like front heavy in the... It took me a while to notice, actually, like I had to do 2 of them. But basically the third, so there's 3 areas on all 5 stages.
Yeah.
And there's 4 areas on stage 1, which becomes like the last stage that doesn't unlock until you do all the others. But basically stage 3 on all of those is just a boss fight. So you do like level 1 stage and boss, level 2 stage and boss, level 3 just the boss. So as you start like picking down the levels, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like they're all just going to be bosses. I'm really closing in on the end here. And I kind of didn't realise that at first because of the like non-linear way I went around the levels. It was, you know, so yeah.
Do they get progressively harder? Is 1.1 easier than what 1.3 is, or 1.2, or is it a bit of a mix up? It depends on your play style and
I think this is a classic sort of feature of these games I've learned. They'll just throw in spikes,
right,
you know, seemingly at random just to fuck with you, you know. So no, it's just, I mean, generally speaking, I guess yes, but you know, there's 2 or 3 in there that are just quite early. One of them particularly that will just leave you scratching your head. You'll be like, what am I doing wrong here?
Yeah.
And then I think I always remember you saying this about Bloodborne. I think you played that way before I played any of these. Like that's where you kind of go online though, and like, you know, there is a really good community about these games, and you know, people will tell you that it can be done. You know, just keep grinding it out. That here's a tactic that might work for you. So yeah.
And do you lose your souls when you die, or are they retained? And that when you go back into the hub world, that's where you can upgrade.
Mate, that bastard mechanics there. You'll love this. The last boss has got a move where he'll like, if he gets you in it, he just takes away. You just level down 1 level.
My God.
And if he gets you again, you level down again and again, and you can't ever get it back. Well, you can, but you've got to go out and grind it out again.
Shitting hell.
Yeah. Oh, and also, this is a good one. This is the one thing actually that isn't like Souls. I'm glad I remember this. So basically, and I didn't realise, and this is why I struggled early, like the worlds now, I'm not going to say this word right, it's like tenancy or something, tenancy. Right. So like, it's like it's really hard to explain. So basically, hang on, let me just have a look. Demon Souls, because I don't. World.
Live research.
Yeah, just talk amongst yourselves. It's called like tendency. And basically, if you do certain things in a level, like, so basically, I think this is different to Bloodborne, you're generally dead, like you're in soul form, so you have less energy and your character will kind of flash. most of the game because you die so often.
Yeah.
If you do certain things, if you beat a boss, if you go online and help somebody else beat a boss, or there's like certain objects you can consume, they'll give you back like your full humanity. So your health bar will double. You can then invade people's games and do a bunch of other stuff. Now, if you die like so many times, say you keep becoming like full human and dying in a level, it will like aggravate the level and the game becomes significantly harder. Like these red demon enemies will spawn. Yeah, so like basically, but it's not like Mario where if you're dying so many times, it gives you a free feather to fly through. They make the double down on it. They make the game even harder. So I didn't realise this. I know. So I didn't realise this. And like if you kill an NPC, it might do the same things. And basically it starts white's good. It has several other levels and it goes jet black. So if you make a level jet black, you're in for a real shitter, which is what I managed to do. And the only way to stop that happening is to beat the level boss, which basically you can't get to because there's all these like red demons after you that won't leave you alone or hack you to death in like most of them just one hit you.
Yeah. So
you literally got to just like be really patient and fight each one individually and clear them off. Once you beat them once, they won't come back.
Yes.
But that's something they took out of Dark Souls, which like once I read about it and learned it was a thing, then it was quite easy to avoid. But you can really walk into that one.
That's interesting. So would you find yourself, like if you wanted to grind for experience and you had a hard boss, I assume there were times when you wouldn't go and confront the boss because if you lost to him, you have to sort of come back and beat him next time to get those souls back. Would you then just return to the hub, level up, and then go again?
Yeah, a couple of times that happened. If you have a really good run, so you kind of, at the end of a level with like 60,000 souls, then you're safer just to kind of run back. So you've basically cleared the level, get yourself back to that Nexus, upgrade, like level up.
To physically run back, or can you just choose to sort of teleport back?
Again, don't know how this works in other games, but basically you've got an object where you can return back to the Nexus at the start of the level, but you forfeit all your souls, so you have to run back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you cleared it down, like you said, and you don't fall off a bridge, then
exactly.
You're okay.
To be honest, what happens is, again, on these games, like what's something that is really consistent is you'll usually find like little, like really nice farming spots. There'll be a run of like 8 enemies right at the beginning that are all high powered, but once you kind of learn how to beat them, you can just rinse and repeat that and just level. So almost like I would like loot a stage for all its actual loot, but not really worry too much about the souls themselves. Like I wouldn't beat myself up if I lost them like deep in.
Yeah.
I mean, really deep in, it's a problem, but most of the time it was all right. And then I would just like a couple of times I just spent an hour and a half like chatting to Sarah or whatever. But I was just, literally just looping around this one area, leveling up.
Interesting. And you can get your souls back if you get killed by the enemy and go and kill them.
That's it. That's still there. Yeah,
that's still there. Perfect. Okay. So it's cool. There's actually, I mean, on the surface, when people look at it, if they've played Dark Souls and not Demon Souls, and even Bloodborne, they might look at Demon Souls and say, that'll operate the same as Dark Souls. But there's actually quite a few fundamental differences. It still retains that DNA, but they've clearly either expanded the structure or made it more complicated, depending on your perspective. And what, because that's. I think the word prototype comes to mind when people see Demon Souls. It was sort of like a blueprint of what they could do. Didn't quite get to the stage where they got it into a Dark Souls form, but in many people's minds, they might hear this and think, "Oh, that sounds like it's going backwards." But did it feel like that playing Demon Souls in 2020?
No, it felt different enough that it was like fun and a couple of little interesting points. But no, I thought the same thing, to be honest. I remember. My nephew loves these games. He actually bought your PlayStation 3 off you because when he got into it, he really wanted to play it. And I don't think I really asked him about it too much, but that's the impression I got, that it was just a prototype. But playing it on the PlayStation 5 with those the graphical improvements, I do think there's some performance, like I think it plays maybe less sluggishly, like it plays more like Dark Souls 3 rather than maybe how Demon Souls originally played. I don't know if that's factual, but I feel like it is. No, it felt great. It just felt different enough to be interesting, but more than familiar, basically.
Cool. A couple more things. Online, you touched upon that. Did you dabble in it much? And what can you do? What you can't you do? Can you just get invaded randomly and wiped out?
Yeah, so this was the most fun I had, I guess, because I played Bloodborne way after the fact.
Yeah.
I played Dark Souls 1 on my Switch on my commute, so no online functionality.
No.
And I played Dark Souls 3 with my nephew, but just basically co-op the whole game. So I've never really had the co-op. I've never summoned before, never been summoned or anything like that. So I actually spent quite a significant amount of time learning this and getting involved in it. So you've got all the normal things, like the bloodstains on the floor that show you how people have died. Yeah. You've got the messages. You can be invaded if you're in full human mode. You can actually, one of the downsides is you can be invaded and killed and lose all your souls. Jesus. But then you can leave a lamp basically to go and invade other people's worlds. You can help people. You can call for help at bosses and things. And also, kind of fun, one of the bosses you fight is, unless you go in offline mode, he's always controlled by an NPC. Cool. So you've always got the chance of
by human,
sorry. Yeah, by human, sorry. Yeah, so you've always got the chance of becoming him, which I did a bunch of times, or when you fight him yourself, you're fighting someone else playing.
Mate, you must have been a walkover if you ended up being him, invading. I bet people are like, cool, that's the easiest boss I've ever faced.
I did fuck it a few times, yeah. Well, good.
Did you? That sounds like it could be a real annoyance if you're trying to get through that boss and you keep just getting these people that are just ridiculously good at it. I assume exactly. You eventually get someone who's beatable and you can get past them.
And if you look online, most people just tell you to turn that off and just fight the computer.
Okay.
Because you will get a lot of people, which I got with they're really over leveled, but it still lets them in there. It should be kind of matching you to a point, and they especially it feels like the magic is a little bit broken in this game. It's a bit overpowered,
right?
And I was getting blitzed, mate. Literally, I'd walk in the room, get one hit, and I was like, well, that's annoying. Now I've got to go all the way back there again and walk into that again. But it's a cool concept, but I can kind of see why maybe that didn't carry over to the other games.
Nice. Well, one of the things that the Souls games and the Bloodborne games and Sekiro are famous for, anything From Software's done since Demon Souls, are the bosses. How do the bosses stack up to your Dark Souls games and the Bloodborne ones that you've encountered? Are they up to snuff? Are they better, worse? Any highlights that you want to share that doesn't completely blow it away for someone who hasn't played it?
No, I would just say you're in for a treat. Basically, this 3 or 4 of them are right up there, graphically and art design wise and difficulty wise as well. You got some really, really nice. I was really surprised, really nice. And a lot of them then they are the blueprints, they've been copied, but they're probably the ones they've copied a lot. Probably I would say they're better in this, but that might be the PS5's power really sort of bringing them to life to that next level, perhaps. Yeah. So I don't know.
It probably helps.
Really impressed.
Interesting. Okay, so you've played Dark Souls, you've played Demon Souls and Bloodborne, so they're sort of the 3 main ones. We'll get on to Sekiro just in a moment. But out of those 3, now I know Bloodborne was one of your favourite games of the last generation. Does Demon Souls do enough to kind of get him? I'm sure it's not going to be above Bloodborne, but get in above maybe Dark Souls, or does it fall just short in that sort of little leaderboard and just come in third?
It's tough. I'd probably peg it level with Dark Souls. It's essentially the same. It's just it's hard to call, isn't it? Because I don't really know what I prefer. I reckon the interconnected world does make more sense. It's better storytelling and it is an upgrade. But other than that, I mean, there's literally nothing in it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm surprised now. I mean, I don't know how well this reviewed originally, but it felt like Dark Souls was came across to me as a big upgrade. It's all come to home now, a bit of a Assassin's Creed 2 deal, but it doesn't feel like that at all. This is a fully fledged, amazing game. So I'd put it in. I'd happily put it in second, basically, but that might be me just because that's the one I've played most recent, so I might be giving it a bit more credit than it deserves. But no, I was thoroughly impressed.
Excellent. Just for reference, it got an 89 back in 2009 on Metacritic. We don't have OpenCritic from back then, and the OpenCritic score for the remake is 92, so it's in the same ballpark. Hasn't gained a few points probably for the graphical upgrades, but it was reviewed pretty well back in the day.
Fair enough.
That leaves you with a bit of a couple of holes, one bigger than the other, in this little From Software license of yours. I mean, Dark Souls 2, that's, sandwiched between 1 and 3. Mizugaki wasn't doing it. So some people say it ain't a real Dark Souls game, and people seem to have problems with that. Is there any chance that you will dabble back to that Dark Souls 2 and go through it just to get through it? So then you've done the trilogy of Dark Souls and add it to your list and add it to your accolades.
If they give me a remaster, I'll be all over it, but I ain't going back.
Fair enough. And then what about Sekiro? Because that's another bit of a departure. You've had the Biff and your evil brother Adkins, the Tom A brothers, both getting through Sekiro, and Adkins enjoying it more than Biff, but they've got through it, and that's that's the most recent From Software game.
Yeah, I'm a bit scared of that one, mate. I don't feel like there's any way to cheat here. You can't just go and grind and upgrade. You actually have to get good and actually do it, didn't you? It's all like timing and stuff. I haven't got a lot of rhythm, so I think I might struggle with that. But yeah, that's that one I should play, really. So yeah, I can see myself, if I see that cheap somewhere and I've got a bit of a hole in my calendar, then
mate, it'll be on Game Pass one day, and then your excuse is gone.
Yeah, I think with these games though, it's like you need a long palate cleanse. Like I won't be going near anything for a year, so we'll see.
I mean, it should run on PS5 or Series X at 60 FPS now. I think I saw the backwards compatibility sort of upgrades, so that'll run nice and smooth. It was again a bit of a pig on those consoles, so maybe we'll check back with you in 12 months to see if Sekiro's been. Well, the trouble is by then Elden Ring will be announced and out, and then it's like, cool, what do we do about that?
Mate, got no hope. He's never getting that done, is he? That's on the back burner as well.
Oh, Martin, he goes, put it on the backlog. Yeah, I've got it on the list. I keep ringing him. He's like, yeah. We'll get to that, definitely. It's on the list, trust me. Give me a little while. Demon Souls, then. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. How many thumbs are you giving it, and where are you putting them?
Both the thumbs up, mate. No doubt about it.
Some people say it's one of the best launch games ever.
I wouldn't argue with it. I think people have been crying out for a remake for ages. I think a lot of people missed it because, it's a bit obscure in its day and stuff, and then became, hard to get hold of and play and whatnot. And, yeah, to wait for PS5. These boys at Blue Point are spot on with their work. And, yeah, I can't think of a better one in recent times anyway.
Wow. There you go. Demon Souls. 2 thumbs up, PlayStation 5 only at the moment. I have a feeling it's going to come to PC just because when they first revealed it, that it said on the trailer coming to PC as well later on, and that can't just be a made-up mistake.
No, I agree. It feels like it will do.
Yeah, and then Master Race can have a go at it. But for now, it's only on Sony's platform. Strange how even with Demon Souls and now the remake and Bloodborne that they sort of get like a couple of exclusives from Software, and then you have like Dark Souls and Sekiro that are multi-plats.
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah, God knows.
Who knows? Right, we've been chatting about a game on the PS5 in Demon Souls. You have a PlayStation 5, but you also have an Xbox Series S, £250 UK. I doubt you've played it to its full potential because the PS5's been sitting there. But what are your high-level thoughts of this Series S, given that it's a much cheaper iteration of a next-gen console, but it does come with some compromises?
High level, physically, it's a beautiful-looking little machine compared to the big old... Yeah. It's like the much better look. It's like the Tom Cruise to sort of the PlayStation 5's Andre the Giant. Like that's the sort of physical attractiveness differences. It looks nice. It's fucking cheap. But from what I've played of it now, I really couldn't tell you. It's like playing my Xbox One.
Right.
It's exactly the same. It's got Game Pass. It's got a load of good games on there. Most of them I've either played before or dabbled in before, and there's nothing to play that's new, unfortunately.
No disc drive either, so that's obviously one of the compromises. You can't even double it up as a Blu-ray player downstairs eventually.
No, it's a unique. I can't see. I got it because it was cheap and I enjoyed Game Pass, and I figured I just want that to continue. I like having that for 12 quid a month or whatever, to have that chance to pick up. Like, I'm playing Control on it. I finished Demon Souls, went to Game Pass, saw Control, thought, do you know what? I fancied that. Never played it, and there it is then for free essentially. So I'm like, perfect. That's why the reason I got it, and then I've got my PS5 for my bread and butter. I don't know. I guess if you're just legit, like, haven't got a lot of money and you just want to play next gen games, maybe. But surely, what's the big boy cost? Another 150 quid.
So it's 450 for the big boy.
All right.
But what I would say is the alternative is, because obviously if you're thinking of getting the Series S, one of the compromises is that you're getting no Blu-ray player. So you've already accepted that's a compromise. For an extra 110, you can get a full-blown PS5 for that with a digital console.
Yes, that's full powered. You're right. That's very true. I mean, the only gamble, and it is such a gamble this stage, is because no one knows what's coming out. All these studios that Xbox have bought, like, what, 3 years down the line, like, if they start producing the games that they're, like, capable of, but no one's got a clue what that is. So it does make it a difficult choice, basically. Yeah,
it's an interesting ploy, isn't it, to say here's two next gen options where one is compromised and what the games won't run as well, look as well, and you've just compared it to kind of your old Xbox One. Do you think this will work in getting more people transferred over into the Xbox Series S ecosystem, or do you think most people, especially at this early stage where it should be mostly enthusiasts that are buying it, are just going to say it's either full fat or nothing?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, mate. I mean, I bought one and I looked the other day and they're sold out, and they're going for like way more than they retail at. I mean, not PS5 levels, but they retail 250. They're going for like 360.
Yeah.
So people clearly do want them. Like, God knows, there's literally nothing to play on it at the moment. So why you'd want it? Because at least the PlayStation 5, when I unboxed that, you got the remote, you got Astrobot, you've got Demon Souls, you've got, and a couple of other things on there that are next gen. It feels next gen. Whereas, I mean, admittedly, I don't know what your big boy was like in the Xbox, but this really doesn't feel like that way, if I'm honest.
One of my criticisms of the Series X was that it just felt the same. And some people might see that as a positive. They'll be like, oh, great. It doesn't matter if I don't upgrade, for one thing. But if I do, I'm going to be familiar with everything. The controller's not had any upgrades, but it's a very safe sort of deployment from Xbox on both sides. They've not tried anything new, which they, to be honest, after the Xbox One, and considering the amount of shit that got for all the Kinect stuff, they were like, look, cutting edge, snap, fucking watch your telly, jobby, whilst you're playing Dark Souls 1 through 3. And it's like, people didn't want that, so fingers did get burnt with the Xbox One. So I think they maybe just needed a bit of a safe deployment on this one. You don't want to make any mistakes.
No, it's very true. And it weren't, they got themselves into a position in that generation late on, to be fair, with Game Pass and everything else. And took a step back from all those things they said early on that upset people. Yeah. Where it's not the worst idea, but this is such an exciting time, to be a gamer. When you get your new generation, it was, I mean, I knew it was for me, because obviously I wasn't even getting the full Fat Boy. Yeah. But it was very anticlimactic. It was a bit like, right.
That's that.
I think one of the first games I ended up playing was Celeste again. I was like, what? I was playing this on Switch. Just, what am I doing? But I was like, what do I do? And then, I was downloading Gears 5 to see it in, I think, 120 frames or whatever. Like, my nephew had his monitor around and he was like spinning around in circles showing me that. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be honest. Like, come on.
Fair enough.
So I am excited. Because I want to know what those studios get, and and just being able to play, keep the modern games on Xbox. It gives me a choice, but I don't really know, to be honest. It's a tough one.
It'd be interesting to see whether your perspective changes in the fact that once, say, let's just use an example, the new Elder Scrolls game comes out from Bethesda, they churn that out eventually, and they say, oh, here we go, big, it's on Game Pass for free, have at it. But on the Series S, it doesn't suffer, but it doesn't look as good as the Series X, and it looks awesome in all the trailers. Like all the Series X footage, you're like, cool, that looks fucking gorgeous. Bethesda really knocked it out of the park. And then you look at your Series S and go, I'm going to be playing that compromised at a lower level. Will it just fuel a bit of fire to go and upgrade to a full fat boy?
It's going to really annoy me, isn't it? 100%. I guess in my head, I'm relying on them those games not ever coming out, which I'm
they
sure
won't be for
they
a few
will.
years, so you're safe for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You think?
I don't know. I think because mine, I basically got my 1S in a really good deal, over Black Friday, only about, I think it was literally a year ago. So I actually sold it for more than I paid for it. And then I paid I think £90 to upgrade to the Series S. It just seemed like a no-brainer at the time. But now, I have to admit, I am thinking for the sake of an extra 200, 4 games I could have had, especially when then I could have bought them and sold them again, which I'm planning to do on the PlayStation. Yeah. I might have shot myself in the foot long term, but see how that pans out. Check in with me.
Yeah, we'll definitely check. I think in the early stages, it's always difficult to justify having both the consoles. Which is what I'm finding at the moment. It's like I probably didn't need both. In fact, I know I didn't need both. If either at all, maybe. I could have potentially stuck with it and got something in the new year. But let's quickly move on to PS5. There's rumours and all sorts of conjecture about you potentially selling up the PS5. So is this just a sour breakup with Sony? Is it all over? Has Jim Ryan done something to piss in your cornflakes and you're like, right, I want a shot of this? Or are you purely just looking for some sort of opportunity to increase your financial capital by cashing in on a hot ticket item that's going to be difficult to get probably until the spring?
Yeah, I've looked at next gen, sort of played one game, I'm pissing all over it. I'm like, I'm done. Checking out. See you later. It's B, mate. I'm not definitely doing it. I've just seen those prices that are going on eBay and whatnot, and I'm like, that's mental. Yeah. And then I look at the release schedule, and I'm like, I don't really know what I'm waiting for now. I hear that Resi might be coming out in Q1. Yeah. But, I mean, that's amazing because that'd be 2 of the games I was probably, of all the ones I know are definitely coming, that's 2 of them out within the first quarter, essentially, which is great for me. Yeah. But I imagine by the time that releases, I'll be able to pick the console up again. I'm pretty certain that'll be the case. So I'm like, if somebody wants to pay me an extra, £400 on top of what I paid for it, then yeah, potentially. I think what I might do is, I think I said to you the console's now with my nephew who loves these games. He's actually just beat it 26 hours to my 53, which sort of annoyed me.
Is that a lot? 53 hours for Demon's Souls?
Yeah, 53, but he has played it before, to be fair, and he's a lot better than me, so that's fine. So he's blasted through it. So I'll pick it up again this weekend. I might whack it on for sale, locally on, Gumtree and stuff, put it out for top whack and see what happens. I'm not fussed either way. There's always tech that I shouldn't buy that I want to buy that I could put the extra money towards, and then, like I said, just keep the money aside and have a look. I wouldn't worry about it until New Year, Jan, Feb, March, whatever. But yeah, it really doesn't bother me either way, mate. If I don't sell it or they won't pay what I want for it, then there's no bother. I mean, to be honest, I might be too lazy even to put it up for sale. I've put the box up in the loft, so
you've got that telly of mine to sell.
Well, that ain't going nowhere, mate.
I've got 2 more statues to get rid of, a hot ticket Pop Funko box to get rid of this time, and if you want to sell it, a little entertainment centre. If not, that's just going to be given away. So that's potentially 5 other things that you've got to be getting on and selling. So it's not you like fucking George R.R. Martin going, yeah, I'll get to it, I'll sell it, I'll put it on the list for you.
Tier 3, I'm not allowed out my house.
It's true. It has stifled all financial sales. Right. Nice quick one. We've done our Games of the Generation podcast. Go back and listen to that if you want to find out what our collaborative overall top 6 games were and then eventual winner. But we're going to spend just a few moments here with Mr. Adcock going through his top 5 personal picks. Nothing too in-depth, just to try and do this with people that I managed to snarl up on within the next sort of few weeks or so, if they've not already sort of done their personal picks. So, do you want to take away what's on the list and perhaps give us a brief little sort of positive spin on why it's there?
Yeah, do you want to just game and then why, game then why?
Game then why,
games?
game then why.
Yeah.
At the end, we'll circle back round and go, right, what's the winner? Let's make the argument choice.
I didn't want that. That's annoying. Right, okay, so game 1 is actually Bloodborne.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of this series, as we've just spoke about for the last half hour. And probably my favourite, first one I played, probably my favourite. I mean, I would say it's the biggest departure, like in terms of setting, but Sekiro probably takes that crown now.
Yeah.
But I love this kind of Lovecraftian world. They've set it in. Bosses are amazing. Everything about this game's good, really. Although I looked at it the other day, and it does look starting to look a bit creaky now.
Well,
I
was going to ask if they do like a new patch of it and it goes up to 60, they sort of maybe touch it up slightly. Would you be tempted to go back into it, or is it just one of those things you want it as the memory that it was in 20 whatever you played it in, probably 17 or 18 by the time you got to it, and you don't want to go back and live through that sort of those hellish parts of the game again?
Exactly. I don't think I'd go back. I love it, but it's there as memory. Give me a number 2 and I'm all over it. I'll watch all the clips on YouTube. I mean, it only takes 5 minutes with how they do story, but yeah, it's my favourite of the From Software games still, and that's high testament because I love this series.
Excellent.
Next one is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Cool, Nintendo fanboy. Here we go.
Getting that bump. Give me the trailer for that new one. What's going on with that? Here we could be getting one soon. Could be today even. Could be,
I don't know. Yeah, it could already have been aired by the time this ends up getting to people with the schedule we're on. But you've enjoyed the original, kind of a Switch launch game, although it's technically a Wii U port. It did launch the system of the Switch, so we were talking about Demon's Souls being a great launch game. Breath of the Wild probably trumps that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but it was available on the old Wii U, wasn't it? It's not the same. Okay, so fine. Ain't getting them in that.
Exclusive.
Yeah. I would say ultimately it is flawed.
And you played it on Wii U?
I did play it on the Wii U, yeah, before I got my Switch, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The tech it was designed for, some say, better performance.
I remember Miyamoto showing that little gamepad going, look, you can look at the map on this and it's all going to be built into it. And then they're like, yeah, definitely Wii U only, it's built for that technology. Then radio silence for 2 years. It's like launching with the Switch and Wii U. It's like we need to start shifting that Switch and abandon the Wii U, walk away from it.
Yeah, I think I'm not as hot on this as everyone, but I think Nintendo are in their own little world, and I hate making allowances for them, but I, along with everyone else, does. And it was really nice to see them go open world for the first time and do it in a way that I don't think anyone else has done, like open world to this level. The fact that you can literally go and tackle that boss within the first 2 hours as soon as you get off that plateau.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love almost everything about this game. I'm really excited for the new one because I'm hoping they probably won't, because it's probably going to be, they always do different things with Zelda, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I hope they kind of make the dungeons a bit more traditional, is what I'd like in the open world setting.
Yeah.
And then you've got me, a bona fide number one game of the generation, I'd say. But ultimately, I had a brilliant time playing this. I must have put in 60 or 70 hours total. Enjoyed them all.
Yeah, and there's still probably another 60 hours to go back to if you ever wanted to, of stuff that you haven't done.
Oh, mate, I didn't touch the expansions or anything,
No. And it's interesting, when it's all said and done, Breath of the Wild might be the best game on Wii U and the best game on Switch. Sort of covers two Nintendo console runs. I hope they can top it, because that means more great games for us. Okay, what's number 3 on this?
3 is also one of my favourite series, really. It's the Resident Evil, and it's the number 2, the remake.
Yes. Very good.
I mean, I spoke to you about this in depth, I think, a couple of times. Arguably my favourite remake of all time. Built from the ground up. Essentially the same game. Well, no, is it the same? You've definitely got that Mr. X lurking about.
Yeah, same beats, I would say, but a true remake to bring it into modern gaming and structure. Because all the controls were changed. Obviously, the graphics were changed, but they did make some artistic choice and creative changes from the original. Like, it's not a lot of choice. It's there's a canon story to this one, but inspired obviously heavily by the original. But is a true, what was it, 2019 or 2020? It come out 2019, like a true game of the 8th generation, not held back by it trying to do old stuff that had come before it. It kind of said, look, this is like what we think. And to be honest, for me, I've sort of hijacked it now, but
no, go.
It what's going to go anyway? It sets the template for like how a modern third-person survival horror can work. Like, we've had hints of it with The Evil Within, which came with its own problems, like performance-wise, and just didn't always click. Whereas Resident Evil 2 was just like, to me, like the ace of like the modern survival horror game, and I would agree with that pick being on there for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to add to that because I echo those thoughts.
Excellent.
Number 4.
Yep.
Would be The Last of Us 2.
There we go. Nice to always get a game that comes out in the year or the last year of the console, because you know that things have peaked. You know, we're getting towards that stage.
I try and avoid the hype train, but obviously, along with everyone else, I was super hyped for this game by the time it came out. Yeah. And overall, I don't think it disappointed. I think
which is insane, because the hype was insane.
Yeah,
and there was like a cloud of like negativity over it as well from fans.
Yeah, I mean, story-wise, for me, it's hard. I think you guys said it, actually. I feel like the first one is a perfect film. This is like a great TV show, and that is the right way. But maybe I'm more of a film guy, because the first one's story sat with me longer afterwards.
Cool.
But I think mechanically this is better than the first one in every single way.
Yeah.
And they definitely didn't do the Xbox thing and take an easy choice. They took massive risks with the story and how it plays through. And I mean, whatever you do and don't like, and certain things didn't work, but they should be applauded for that. Naughty Dog, they really knocked it out of the park with this, and I guess I am looking forward to, hopefully they go back to this world one more time, or who knows.
Yeah, it'll be good to see what they do with it. Okay, 5th and final one. What we got?
I mean, I'm just looking at my list. I'm with it. I've put it down, so I'm sticking with it. Bit of an oddball, but I'm going to go with the little Astrobot VR.
Nice. Yeah. Rescue mission.
VR. Correct. I love my little VR set. I've kept it, even though I've sold my PlayStation 4. It's going to annoy me because they're bound to bring out like a pro version, but I've gambled. I've kept it. And he's back on that as well. That's a good little game. But yeah, I like the VR probably more than most, and this is my favourite game in VR, like hands down. It looks great. It's the one that really plays well and really leans into everything that's great about the VR kit. He's a cool little character.
Yeah,
I want to see more. Yeah,
excellent. Well, there's your top 5. Pick us one, and then we'll let you off.
I'm going to go Resi 2.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm shocked.
Away from the old Born. I'm assuming you thought Bloodborne.
Yeah, I did. I thought that was
Resi. I love that series, and I love the fact that they've now gone like 2 avenues. I love that you got the first person modern ones. It needed a change. I love them, and I love that they're kind of remaking the sort of the best ofs, if you will, with just being typically weird and Japanese. Start at number 2, go at number 3. God knows what they're doing next, but I'm on board for it. Yeah, but I mean, as we said, it is there, but also it's so graphically and mechanically and even story differently. It's might as well be a different game, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering where we left, sort of with 6, they got 7, got 2 remake, and it's back on track in both timelines, or whatever you want to look at it. So there you go. Sweet. Right, well, I'll let you off. We'll pull this particular episode to a close. Thanks for joining us. And obviously, everyone at home, if you've stumbled across this, you can subscribe to the feed on any good podcast app. If you've found it on YouTube, then the channel's there, Idle Game Chat. Just search for it and you'll be able to sub there as well. But nothing more for us to say apart from thanks for your time, and ta-da.
We'll be right back.
This was a Dimp Digital production.